So friends, if you caught any of my recent knife unboxings, you will have heard me mention that I wanted to reprofile the blades on my large sod buster, and also my new lime green sod buster I just got. I wanted to go ahead and reprofile that blade as well. So I figured this would be a good time to go ahead and talk about multiple things while I sharpen these knives. That way this video is just not a video of me sharpening knives. We also talk on some of the subjects that I keep getting questions on in the comment sections, or some of the comments that I would like to reply to on film. So second of all, I just want to state that I do have the windows open. It is a beautiful night here in Tampa Bay, and I have the windows open, so if we get some background noise, that's just the snowbirds that are down driving around on their golf carts and stuff like that. So just bear with me and we will work through it. Alright, so before we get started sharpening these knives, let's go ahead and break out my box of sharpening stuff and see what we got. I know it's that because I got it there. So let's just go ahead and talk about some of the sharpening stones and stuff I have. These are some Spydercos, and these are what they call ceramic files. Alright, if I had a ceramic blade or a real small blade or fishing hook like this one here, it's shaped right there so you could do a fishing hook on there, I could break those out. And this is a really nice set. I actually got these before the price jacked up too much. This is just a little slipstone I keep on the in my cup over there with my EDC knives. It's got Spyderco's medium and fine, and I dropped it one time and broke a chunk out of it right there, but it still works fine. It's a great stone. Trick with these, you got to rinse them with hot water and a little Dawn once in a while to get some of that metal out of them, and they will work much better. Alright, so these things here, these little Smith, they come in a lot of different varieties, but basically what they are is a little carbide bit in there that creates a right angle to your blade, and as you drag the blade through there, it kind of scrapes it. You know, that carbide's a lot harder than the steel on your knife. And honestly, even though this Smith one has ceramic rods here, it's not the best thing for your knife. I mean, it'll get you through. When I had my barbecue restaurant, I used something similar to dress up my knives because I just didn't have time to sharpen them. So, but it'll wear out a knife quick. Yeah, you don't really want to mess around with that too much. Okay, so here's something I got from Smoky Mountain Knife Works. And this one here, let's see if we can get this thing out of here. Alright, so this shaped kind of like a little butterfly knife. Okay. And it is a two-sided diamond stone. It's got 400 grit on one side and 1000 grit on the other. And that really is kind of a handy little thing. I don't know about the quality of these diamonds. I mean, it was a free gift. It couldn't be that expensive. But, you know what? If it works, that is a nice compact knife sharpener to throw in your backpack if you're going camping or something. So, something to think about. But we're not going to use that today. Let's put that back up. Alright, so this right here, this is very similar to the stones I started out with as a kid with my granddad. Soft Arkansas stones. This one here is a case, and it comes in this little plastic container, but all the ones I had as a kid, they were actually a little bit bigger, a little thicker, and they came in a wooden box. I think there's still some out there like that, but they're definitely not as nice as the ones that I had as a kid, because I mean, they had dovetail joints and stuff on the wooden boxes and stuff like that. But that's an oil stone. There is wet stones. You can use water. There's oil stones. A lot of people, you know, a lot of YouTubers are saying, oh, that's the only way to sharpen a knife, blah, 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 and you got to have, you know, 10 different stones and set up this thing over your sink and, you know, spend 10 hours sharpening a knife that you're going to cut bread with. But they work, and if that's what you have, you know, go for it. If that's what you like to do, go for it. But I think it's a little outdated. Alright, we got some better stuff in here. Alright, so next up, these are diamond stones. I have a DMT here and a Smith here. Alright, and let me tell you, this Smith, I bought this at Sports Authority. If anybody recognizes that name, it was a prominent sporting good place back in the 80s. And this was an expensive stone back then, you know. I don't know if they're any good now, if they even still make them or not. This one's only a couple years old. I think I got it off of Amazon or something at DMT. And it's very similar. Not the same, though. As you can see, this one's got more, a little bit better pattern. I like the pattern on this one a lot better. But let me tell you, when I first got my Spyderco pair of two, this is my original one, and this is in the CPN S30V. Okay, let me tell you, this particular CPN S30V on this Spyderco right here is extremely hard. Okay, I mean, I've sharpened a lot of other knives. I have a lot of other knives and a lot of other, you know, S390, you know, just Magna Cut, all kinds of stuff, okay? This knife, this thing really gave me the most problem out of any steel that I have. And the one that does the best is this Smith's Diamond Stone right here, okay? This thing will sharpen that pair too, okay? So next up, the next kind of sharpener we have is a Spyderco, and this is the Sharpmaker. Alright, and a lot of people recommend these. Basically, you have these little stones like this, and they go in here like that and like that, and you take your knife, and the idea is that you can hold your knife straight up and down and repeat the angle over and over and over and over, okay? Alright, it's not a bad idea, and it's not a bad sharpener. The problem is the medium stones and the fine stones are fine if you already have your knife profiled to that angle, but this does not work for reprofiling a knife, okay? You'll sit here forever. Spyderco ceramic stones are just not aggressive enough to reprofile a knife, okay? They're great once you get your profile the way you want it, okay? But you got to make sure you got it at this degree here, 40 degree or a 30 degree, okay? And basically they're talking about the complete, so 30 degree would be 15 and the 40 would be 20, you know, that's standard. But not a bad little system, but they are pricey now. And the other bad thing is if you drop these, they will shatter pretty easily, okay? So you don't want to drop those. Alright, so that's the Spyderco Sharpmaker. Alright, next up
these Spyderco stones. Alright, these are the full-size bench stones, and this is the, if you notice they do say ceramic wet. So we have a medium, and I have it also in fine. Alright, so these, you use that stone the same way you use this stone, the same way you use that stone, and they're just ceramic stones, and they don't ever wear out. Okay, and they don't really get like concave and stuff like this stone here. As you work it, it'll start doing that to the stone because you start wearing away the stone. You're not really going to see that on the ceramic stones, so that's the advantage of the ceramic stones. Alright, but we're not using that today either. So let's set those aside. So what we're going to use today is going to be these diamond stones, and I think this is about the best setup right here. Okay, these are Venev, and they are have a substance on here that's immersed in diamonds, stones. It's impregnated all the way through, so as you wear it off, the new diamonds come to the surface, where something like this, once you wear the diamonds off the surface, it's done. You got to get a new one. But these, as long as you still have that layer right there, it'll just keep bringing up new stones. Alright, and I marked these, and they're double-sided. As you can see, I got 80, 150, 240, 400, 800, and 1200. Alright, so that's going to get us to a pretty nice edge, 1200. And once we go to 1200, then we can step up to the Spyderco stones, which I think they're in here. And we'll break those out. I think that's them right there. And then that takes us to the 3000 and the 6000. Alright, so we'll talk about these stones a little bit more in a little bit. You say, John, those don't look very handy to use. No, they're not. So the next thing we got to pull out is my Hapstone RS Sharpener. So let's set that aside, get some of this stuff back in the box and out of the way, and we can talk about the Hapstone. Alright. So this is the Hapstone RS Knife Sharpener, and I've shown it on the channel quite a few times. But this is a fixed angle, meaning you put a stone on here and it attaches there, and once you start sharpening, you can recreate the same angle on that edge. Okay, and that is going to give you the nicest edge. Other than, if you wanted a convex edge or something like that, you would use a different system. But we're going to go ahead and use the Hapstone RS Knife Sharpener. This is a fixed angle sharpening system. It's got these clamps here, and these clamps can be adjusted for different size blades. Okay, they can also be flipped over and got out even wider. Okay, and then you have an arm which holds the stone, and that arm attaches here, and as you sharpen, it gives you a fixed angle that you can't vary from, and that's what gives you a nice perfect edge on your blade. So first thing we need to do is get our knife ready, because we don't want to just stick it in there on these clamps because they will scratch it all up. So we're going to put some tape on there. Now another thing is, for these clamps and the different things, you know, you got to have Allen wrenches. And one thing I did is I went down to Ace Hardware and I bought a couple magnets. And those magnets hold all my Allen wrenches right there and keep them from getting lost. So that is one little trick you can do if you got a Hapstone or one of these other kind of sharpeners. Okay. So we need the, figure out which one it is. That's not that one. It's this one here. Okay. Alright, so before we mount our blade in there, we're going to get some tape. Just some old painter's tape. And we're going to tape up our blade so that it doesn't get scratched. And you can just do it just like that. Okay. Flip it over. And it doesn't matter if the tape hangs off the end, just as long as we get a good clamp on it, right? So that's there. Okay. And I kind of boogered it up there, but I think it'll be alright. Maybe we'll just put another piece of tape on there. There we go. Alright, if you hear a bunch of noise in the background, it is just a beautiful night here in Tampa Bay, and I have my windows open, but the snowbirds are down, so they're running around making all kinds of noise. Alright, so we got the blade taped up to where we're not going to scratch it. You know, we got a lot of tape hanging off the back, but if we want to get rid of that, we can just trim that off and get rid of some of it. Alright, so now we're ready to mount our blade into the clamps. And that's something we want to kind of think about a little bit before we do. Alright, because I like to have one of them on the tang of the knife, okay? Because this is a full flat ground on these sod busters. Alright, so that's an angle all the way, so the only place it's going to touch is right there on that edge, and that's not going to give us a real strong grip. So the strongest grip is going to be grabbing right in this area, right? Because those two edges are parallel to each other, and that clamp can get the best bite. Now, a little trick is on your smaller knives, sometimes this area is not very big to get a hold of, but you can close the knife halfway, right? And now, see how much bigger that area is to clamp your clamp to versus that? See? A lot bigger, right? So you can close the knife and you can still sharpen it just fine. Alright, so that's one little trick. But we don't need to do that with this large sod buster. We got plenty. So let's go ahead and clamp this one down here. Alright, I haven't tightened these yet. I don't tighten those till later. But I want to go ahead and get this one here clamped down good. Nice and tight where it's not going anywhere. Okay, so that's nice and tight. And now I got to figure out the other one. Now, another consideration you got to do when you do these fixed angle knife sharpeners is I have a blade that's kind of straight here, but then it curves up like that. It's got that Skinner tip, right? Let's use the Junior again for an example. Alright, so I'm coming along here. Coming along here, straight, but then I got a curve here. So as I bring that stone, right, I might have 1 degree. But as I come out here, I don't want to totally flatten out my bevel here. So I try to keep the distance between here, where the fulcrum of the arm is, to out here, to where my edge is, about equal all the way down. So in order to do that, you know, we can just take this and kind of see with my finger here. See when we're down here, see how much further out that is? So I'm changing the angle. But if I take the blade, right, and just stick that out just a little bit, okay, I'm going to be a little thinner in here. So let's take it, move it over like this, and see how that changes it. Alright, so let's take that off and make it a little easier. So here's my finger. Alright, see how it changes out here? Okay, let's give it a little bit of that. Alright, so that'll be thinner in there, so maybe not so much. So we got to pick a happy medium here. Alright, I think we do. I think we got a happy medium right there. So let's go ahead and clamp this one down. Alright. Now, I'm going to show you another trick. Alright, since this clamp is not on a flat surface like that, it is on the beveled edge of the blade. What's going to happen is that blade's going to keep wanting to push back there. So that's going to change the angle of the blade, which is going to change the angle of our stone, and we'll be sharpening it going, how come that doesn't get sharp? Well, the reason it's not getting sharp is it's changing the angle. So I just happened to have this little piece of G10 one time, and I learned it is perfect to slide right in here behind the blade, and basically what that's doing is it's taking up the gap between the spine of the blade right here and the screw as it goes through, and that being in there is not going to allow that blade to slide that way. The blade's not going to go this way, it's only going to want to go that way. Alright, imagine pinching down on something that's tapered like this. It's want to work its way in that way, not that way. Alright, but that spacer, alright, that is perfect, and that is going to keep it from going in there. So we're going to go ahead and crank this down. Alright, get it good and tight now. We don't want that sucker moving. Tighten this, and now that we have those tight, we come back here and tighten these. Alright. Whoop. Alright, so now you see, as we sharpen the blade, we're going to go one side, and we're going to go the other side. And we got a nice sturdy blade, and the angle of that blade is not going to change, but we are going to come in every once in a while and just make sure that these are good and tight, and they're not going anywhere. Alright. Alright, so next step is we need to go ahead and mount our first stone. And since we're going to reprofile it, we're going to start out with this 80. Okay? And how this goes on here, these aren't exactly made for it, but they fit. They just don't have that taper that goes in there. Okay? So see, I got the 80, I got that upside down. 80's this way. See, I put a little arrow there so I know which side's what. Alright, so that fits in there nicely. It's not going to go anywhere. Alright, that slides up on here. Okay. Now, we got to set our bevel. Alright, in order to set the bevel, we need a little digital angle guide. These things you can get for less than $10 on Amazon, okay? Alright, so what you do is a Hapstone has this little spot right here. We can set it on there, and we can zero it out by hitting that button. Zero it out. Alright, so whoop. Yeah, it's about as close as it wants to get to zero, huh? Alright. Then we set our stone on the knife, and we put it right here. And that tells us we have about right under 19-degree bevel. We can check it in a couple different spots here. Okay? As you can see, it's all about the same. Alright, so in order to adjust it, because I think I want to do these, we're going to do these at 20. Okay? So we can just pick up on that like that and get to about 20. Lock this down. Alright. And if we want to fine tune it, okay, we can fine tune it right here. That's going down. Let's go up. A little bit more. $19.9. 19.9. 19.9. 20. Okay. Now that's locked down. So these are both locked down. We're right at about 20. And that's where we want to be. So we don't need this anymore. We'll go ahead and shut that off so we don't kill the batteries. Put it away. Throw one of my old rags down here under it because we're going to use a little bit of liquid here to lubricate it. And as I've shown before, this Dawn Power Wash works fantastic for lubricating our stones. You know, if you don't have that, you can just put a little Dawn and some water, dilute it. But I really like this. And then we're just gonna make sure the base is sitting somewhere nice and sturdy. And the other trick is, see where my finger is right here? Hold your finger under there as you come to the edge, the tip of the knife. It's not going to hurt your finger, but what that's going to do is it's going to keep that stone from rolling over, and that is going to get you a nice point. If you don't support the tip as you come off of it with that stone, you will get a rounded point, and that is no bueno. Alright? Okay, so we're going to work our way through all the 6 grits, doing one side and then the other, until we get a burr on each side before we flip it. What you want to do is make sure you can feel that burr. Hear it? So get you a good burr on there before you flip it. And then you flip it and you work the other side of the blade with the same stone for about the same amount of time. That way you get an even bevel. And I don't like to swirl around. I like to go as perpendicular to the edge as possible to keep my scratches very short. It creates a better tooth, I think. And we just do it again until we feel that burr. Make sure that burr goes all the way from the tip to the base of the blade. Flip it over, change your stone, and we will work our way through all 6 different grits until we get to the 1200. So basically, you know, here moving forward, is just pretty much rinse and repeat till we get that burr, flip it, and do the other side until we get the burr again. So one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, because a lot of people, they complain about case knives. All right, why are you having to resharpen a brand new case knife? You got 2 case knives that need to be resharpened. Well, let me tell you, this knife was less than $40. It's an American-made knife. The steel, this chrome vanadium, they do a great job on it. The quality of the knife, everything else was great. So the grind was a little bit off. And on the Junior, the grind was off and it needs a little bit of polishing. But the way I look at it, for the price I get these knives, okay? So $63 for the Junior with that beautiful lime green bone, and less than $40 for the synthetic. I could have got an orange one for less than $40. You can get the CV synthetic Junior for in the mid-30s. All right, so it's a heck of a value. Even when you compare that to a Chinese-made knife, it's still a heck of a value. So why do I have a problem spending a few minutes polishing up a knife at this price point? All right, where I'd have a problem is if I bought like one of those Jack Wolf's knives for $300, okay, and I had to polish it up. Great Eastern Cutlery, I bought their knives. They're very expensive. They weren't perfect when I got them. I don't buy them anymore. I'd rather have a case. It's a better knife. Okay, I can buy the case for a third of the price, put a few minutes into it. I enjoy putting that effort into the knife and end up with a nicer knife that I feel like I had part of making it. All right. Now, I'm sure Case could sell me the knife for $200 or $300, like some of these other brands are selling them for. Okay? And they would make sure that every knife was perfect when it left the factory. But why? Now we're not getting a $30 knife. We're not getting a $40 knife. We're not getting a $60 knife. We're having to pay $200. Do we want that? There's people out there that just want a work knife. They don't care if it's perfectly centered. They don't care about resharpening it. I don't care. I'm going to resharpen it and put my own bevel on my knife anyway. So why do I care if the bevel's a little off or it didn't come razor sharp out of the package? I want to put my own bevel on there. So I don't get any extra value out of having it perfect out of the box. My value is that I can get this knife at this price point, put a little effort into it, and end up with one great American-made product at the end. So that's my 2 cents on the case knife. Also, there's the Bear & Son. What everybody likes, the Bear & Son. I don't care for it. I don't like the fact that it doesn't have brass liners. I don't think the design of their knives is very good. They look like they're more for fantasy than real life. Where Case, they've been making these patterns for a very long time, and they know exactly what works, what fits the hand, no hot spots, what makes a good slicing blade, what makes a good skinner blade, and so forth. Form over function, right? Or I don't know if I said that right. The knife needs to do what a knife is made to do, not just look good. If you want a knife that just looks good, go buy you a Frost cutlery, put it on the shelf. Don't expect it to do anything. I expect a knife to do things well, or I don't want it. That's just my 2 cents worth. All right, and I wanted to get that out there. All right, so wrapping this knife up, we took it all the way to the 1200, and now it's time to take it out of the Hapstone and see how it turned out. Sorry about my little rant there, but just something I've been wanting to get out there. It's a lot easier to say it on film here than try to put it in the comment sections. But alright, so we got a sod buster here. We got almost a mirror polish with that 1200. Check it out. You can definitely see a shine there. Okay, if I took it out in the sun, you'd really see it. I'm just in the, it's about 11 o'clock at night, but you can see that polish on there. And it'll definitely shave hair, no problemo, right? But I think we're gonna try to make this knife just a little bit better. So let's move this stuff out of the way. And there's something I've been wanting to try. You know, usually I just put it on my leather strop. I got one with compound on one side and the other side's clean, but I've been wanting to try something. I got some products that I never really used, I've had for a while, so let me grab a fresh strop with nothing on it. And let me show you what I got. I got these 2 jars, and they are supposed to have some kind of really fine diamond dust inside the compound. Alright? And it wasn't cheap, but it's been sitting around a long time. I don't really know the difference between the two, so I'm just going to pick this one here. We're going to put some of this on the strop and see how it does. So I'm going to just really work this into the leather good, get it on there evenly, let it dry for a minute, get this stuff out of the way, and we'll see what kind of finish I can get on this blade. Just not a lot of pressure, just even pressure, more of a drag, I always say, than a push. And yeah, it definitely feels like it's got a, you know, a little bit of friction there. So I don't know exactly what grit this is supposed to be. If y'all know anything about it, anybody that's watching the video knows anything about those kind of compounds, let me know. But I'm going to finish it up on the smooth, clean leather side. I always do that. You know, sometimes I don't even put the blade on the compound. Sometimes I just run it on the leather. Your leather actually got silica in it anyway, so you don't really need a compound. Don't always feel like you got to have compound. You can rub a knife on your wallet, on your belt, anything like that. But yeah, I'd say this knife feels pretty sharp. Let's see. Got any hair left on this arm? Yep. Yep. It takes it right off. 5 out of 5 on that. Make sure I don't cut my wrist, right? Yep. Alright, let's see how it does on paper. Get this piece of paper, got a couple oil drops on there, but oh yeah. I don't even feel any resistance on there. It just slices right through it. That's why this CV steel is so nice. And it just gets like a razor. Yep, I'm liking that. Well, friends, I hope you enjoyed this sharpening video. And if you did, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share it to any of your friends who might like similar knife content. It's what keeps the channel going. Other than that, thanks for viewing, and y'all stay safe.